Hello everyone. So today we are looking at solving equations. I know this might sound like you've heard it before. It's a review, which is good because it should be. However, I just want to make sure we really understand how to solve equations because that's going to be very important moving forward in geometry. So some of this might seem super easy, some of it might seem a little bit harder. Whatever you need help with, those are the videos that you should watch. So we're going to start off really basic and just look at what are inverse operations. So those are operations that undo one another. The inverse operation of addition is going to be subtraction. So let me get my pencil. So the inverse operation of addition is subtraction. Right? That's the thing that undoes addition. The inverse operation of subtraction then would be addition. So those two things are opposite, right? To undo addition, we subtract. To undo subtraction, we add. That seems pretty basic. Same with multiplication and division. So to get rid of multiplication, I'm going to divide. And then to get rid of division, I'm going to multiply. So that's like the foundation for solving equations. That's why I always tell people it's just about inverse operations. The other part that's really important to remember is that when we're solving equations, we have to know that they're like seesaws. They have to remain balanced. So if I do something to one side, I have to do it to the other side. And that's a really big mistake that I see a lot, is that we'll add something to one side, but then not to the other. So the steps that I kind of outline are that we're going to locate the variable in the equation. So remember, the variable is just the letter. And then we're going to identify, well, what inverse operation do we need to use to get that letter by itself? Because that's ultimately what we're trying to do. Then we're going to use that inverse operation on both sides of the equation. So in this video, we're just starting off with solving one-step equations. And what that means is we only have to do one thing to get our answer. So that's what a one-step equation is. So if we look at number one, step one says, okay, circle your variable or locate it. Well, that's my x. And I can see that what's happening is I have x minus 7. So at that point, I'm going to go back and I'm going to look at the inverse operation of subtraction, which I know is addition. So that tells me I have to add 7 to both sides, because I'm trying to undo subtracting 7. Okay, so then I'm left with just x over here because negative 7 plus 7 just cancels out, right? That's the whole purpose. That's why we added 7 to both sides. So then I'm left with x equals 15 plus 7, which is just 22. And that's my final answer. So I'm going to do the same thing for the rest of these problems. When I look at number 2 now, I have x plus 10 equals 57, okay? And I know I'm solving for x, right? That's my variable. I have plus 10 this time. I need to do the inverse. Well, the inverse would be to subtract. So I need to subtract 10 from both sides of the equation. So plus 10 minus 10 cancels out, and I'm left with x equals 57 minus 10, which is 47. All right, and then we are done with that one. So now I'm going to zoom in on number 3. This one's a little bit different. When you guys see a number next to a letter like this, and there's not a symbol between them, that tells me it's multiplication. So this is really 8 times y equals 72. Well, what's the inverse operation of multiplication? Because ultimately, I need to get rid of that 8 because I want to get this thing by itself. Well, the inverse operation of multiplication is division. So I'm going to divide by 8 on both sides. Okay, 8 divided by 8, that's just 1, so that cancels out. And I'm left with y, so I'm just bringing my y down. And 72 divided by 8, well, that's just 9. And you can just put that in your calculator. So the answer is y equals 9. And the last one we have for one-step equations is a division problem. So we have 13 equals k over 4. If we see a fraction, that just means division. Okay, so don't be confused by the fraction bar. I know a lot of times fractions are just like perceived as something scary. We don't like them. Just think of it as division. So this is really 13 equals k divided by 4. My variable is k, so I want to get rid of that divide 4. The inverse of division is multiplication, so I'm going to multiply both sides by 4. So if I have this division and multiplication, that just means those things are canceling each other out. And then I'm going to put 13 times 4 in my calculator. So 13 times 4 is 52. So then I get 52 equals k, because that's all that's left over here. And then I'm finished. So this is an overview of solving equations, and specifically one-step equations. In the next video, we'll look at two-step equations and then some that are a little bit more difficult. So this is just to get you guys started, and hopefully this was a helpful video.